Welcome back into another episode of Bears Latest. This is being recorded on Sunday, June the 8th, which means you'll most likely be seeing this drop on Monday, June the 9th. I'm Brandon, and here's what's going on with your Bears. So, OTAs are wrapped up. The vets are now being sent home, and rookies are coming back in to get some extra work in this week. But now that we've had an opportunity to have everybody together and installing plays and going through the nuances and everything. We got an opportunity to see who shined and who maybe didn't really shine. And I think one that definitely is out there is not shining is Dayo Odeyingbo, who was completely like non-existent over the course of the OTAs, which is why you heard Ben Johnson talk about Dominic Robinson being singled out as a big contributor and a shining spot over the course of the OTAs. He made the most of it. He got to run with the ones quite a bit. So I found that rather interesting. But our free agent acquisition, one of our prized acquisitions from this last free agency period, it was nowhere to be seen. Is this something to be concerned about? Is he going to be behind the eight ball when he comes in? Not necessarily. I think a lot changes once the pads get on and everything, but it is interesting to see that a guy that you've invested this much capital into isn't out there and isn't making a name for himself and getting that experience that he needs under his belt in this new defensive system. So yeah, I'm surprised. Be worried. I mean, it's June 8th. There's a lot that can still happen. I mean, you could even see if it's a really major issue, I think you would see some movement. There are still free agents available at edge, like Zadarius Smith, or you can trade for a guy like Trey Hendrickson. So I think there's still some options there if the Bears feel that there is a problem there. Because as much as I like Dom Rob, and I do, I mean he's been he came into Miami University as a quarterback, then was converted to a wide receiver, and then they converted him to defensive tackle. And I think the defensive tackle was his senior year, so he was still learning how to play the position. And obviously coming into the Bears, same thing, trying to figure out how to play the edge position. And he had shown flashes here and there, but the problem is it's now inconsistent. And he always impresses when the pads are off, but when the pads are on, it's a totally different story. And I think you're going to be able to get a good read based on the fact that our offensive line is improved. And if we're not getting the job done against our unit, then chances are we're going to have a hell of a time against other elite units in the league. So this is definitely one I would be keeping an eye on. You could definitely, read between the lines if you start seeing the Bears, meeting with other players or being rumored to, which is quite possible. We may see that this week now that camp for everyone is wrapped up and the evaluations are underway and such to determine if we need to make a move. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is a big deal? Should we be waving red flag, or should we just chill out and realize it's just early June and there's a lot of days left until we actually get into camp and when pads get on and everything like that? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. This one I thought was really cool. So the last day of camp, or last day of activities, Ben Johnson decided to make it a trick play kind of day. So this was the opportunity for a lot of the veterans to show off some of their other talents and running some different trick plays, kind of like what you saw when Johnson was running the offense in Detroit last season and previously, where you saw guys like Dan Skipper going out for a pass and scoring a touchdown, or you saw a quarterback lining up out wide, and you've got wide receiver or a tight end taking the snap or something crazy like that. So they were doing that on Thursday, which I thought was pretty cool. A lot of Lions fans are pretty pissed right now because they're like, oh, they're trying to be us and everything. Well, you know, whatever you want to say, but this is a totally different roster. The talent pool is different, and we might have some different strengths and such to be able to show off. So as I'm seeing that, that come up, I'm watching footage, and I don't know if you guys saw this or not. And if you haven't, you need to get on YouTube. You need to check this out. Darnell Wright went out for a one-handed catch, got the pass, one-handed. And I mean, it was very, very impressive. Like he jumped up, hauled that sucker right in, and leads me to believe that there's a very good chance that Johnson ends up putting some things together and using him possibly in some of those jumbo packages where he can get the ball. It also made me start to think like, oh man, what else could we possibly do on this team? And the one thing that stuck out, it made me think of Drew Brees and Taysom Hill when the Saints were running that two-headed juggernaut, and basically Taysom Hill was unstoppable. Hill was behind, at center, and Drew Brees was going outside and everything, and I'm just like, holy crap, nobody can stop this guy. He's built like a tight end, but he's a good running quarterback who can throw pretty decent, and made me think, well, that's a great way to use Tyson Bagent. What if you had Tyson Bagent taking the snap and you had Caleb running out to one of the wide receiver spots? I mean, that would be insane. And Bagent, I don't think I'd be running Bagent all over the place. I wouldn't be wildcatting that with him. But it would be pretty cool to see some different exotic plays. So I like the fact that they're taking those risks right now. And it was a great way to end camp or end activities, really loose and laid back. And it sounds like everybody had a great experience. They talked about how much they improved in such a short amount of time, and everybody is buying in to what Ben Johnson and company are putting together. The initial result or the initial feedback is it's been very successful. They have a long ways to go, and I love the fact that Johnson went ahead and said that he's like, look, we're not ready for prime time yet. We've still got a ways to go, but now we're able to do the things that we need to be doing, like walking up to the line and running through pre-snap drill and everything like that, doing it right every time. Because if you can't do that, it doesn't matter what kind of crazy ass play you've got dialed up. If you're getting false start penalties, or you're giving away what the play is because of how you're lined up or something, if you're not exactly on point, then your success rate completely drops. And I think that I love the fact that he complimented on that is better. Now we can focus on the bigger task at hand, and that's executing the plays once the snap happens. And I think that's absolutely key. So I love the fact that coming away from camp, I keep calling it camp. Camp's not till next month, but now that OTAs are over with, now they can really sit down and talk about strengths and weaknesses and what they could use to their advantage. So I think using a guy like Darnell Wright, kind of like what they did with Penei Sewell in Detroit previously, I think that would be pretty neat. Or finding a way to mix and match with some of the weapons that you have there. What would you like to see? Is there a particular player that maybe typically doesn't get all the love that you see on offense? Is there a defensive player that would be pretty cool to see on the offensive side for some special plays? Not like a la Refrigerator Perry or anything like that. But I mean, who knows? You might have a guy like Jervon Dexter or Shamar Turner who could do something like that. Who would you like to see in a trick play situation, or If you're not a fan of them, tell me why you're not a fan of trick plays. You would either rather just see us focus on the regular stuff and not try to get too exotic. Let me know what you think below. So we're going to continue on and talk about Ruben Hyppolite. I know everybody is probably to the point now where they're like, we're tired of hearing about Ruben Hyppolite. We don't know what he can do yet. Pads are not on yet. But it was interesting to see that when TJ Edwards or Tremaine Edmonds were not on the field, that they had Ruben Hyppolite lining up at the mic, the Sam backer. They were having him do all sorts of different things. I believe, and a lot of people around that are covering the Bears and following closely believe that because of this and all of the praise and all of the push and going up and get him in the fourth round, the Bears have serious plans for Hyppolite. It can't be denied. He has great sideline speed, sideline to sideline. Like him being on the outside edges there, I think will definitely play into our advantage, especially being able to provide pressure that's necessary. So I think I would not be surprised. I'm going to buy Ruben Hyppolite being a week one starter. I'm going to go ahead and go out there because I'm not sold on Noah Sewell. Um, I just don't think that that's going to happen. I think that Ruben is going to continue to improve and impress. Dennis Allen has talked about how he is he studies and and is really good at understanding and processing and improving. And I think if you've got somebody out there that's teachable like that, has the high motor and the upside, I think the rest comes into play. So I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibilities that he ends up being a week one starter. And if for some reason the Bears end up not making him a week one starter, then I guarantee you he's in a backup role slash kicking ass and taking names on special teams. That's for sure. And then he can work his way up. But right now, way things stand, I think he has a really good chance of earning one of those outside backer positions. What do you think? Is there another guy on the roster that you think would be more of a logical choice, or do you think that Ruben, the Hyppolite hype, as I like to call it, is legit for real, and we need to stay tuned for it? Tell me what you think below. And then to wrap up for today, since we did wrap up OTAs, just covering some of the stuff that happened in terms of position battles and such. And I think the biggest question is who is going to be at left tackle now that OTAs are over, heading into camp and starting to look into the regular season. Who is going to hold down the weak side for Caleb? And right now, especially all of the feedback we're getting, we're kind of talking like Hyppolite here, sort of, so to speak. It sounds like Ozzy Trapillo has a decent shot of being LT1. I think a lot of it obviously is going to have to do with how Braxton Jones comes back and how he fares. But the one thing I would like to see is if you know you've got a guy like Ozzy and you've got a good strong backup in Karan Abagaji, which it sounds like the staff praised Karan with his growth over the course of the OTAs. I would say if you've got two guys right there that you know are capable of playing that position, and you've got other needs that you need to fill or other positions that other players that you don't want to see cut, then I think you do Braxton Jones a solid, depending on how he comes back from his injury. Maybe you do what we were talking about the other day, where we were talking about the crazy rumor about Braxton Jones being flipped for a day 3 pick to like an Arizona or somebody who needs that upgrade on the blind side. And I think at that point, if you know you are set with your guys there on the outside, then I say you go ahead and make the move. Because if not, and you do play him, or you play him and he's not the starter and he just kind of comes in and fills in, and or he's just basically eating up a spot for the season, and then he goes to free agency, which that's what's going to happen. After this year, it's free agency for him. So why not get something for him now? So I guess my mind has changed a little bit since we last discussed this, but right now, whew, Ozzy Trapillo looks like he has a good chance. Now, the only way I will change my mind and eat my words is if Braxton comes back and he gets into camp and he's either at the same level or at his highest level, or like he was previously, or he is going to explode onto the scene and take the next step forward and to put himself not just in a in a tier where you are a capable and solid starter, that now we're starting to see somebody who's pushing towards all pro and oh my gosh, what if he was a part of the Pro Bowl and things like that, getting those kind of honors and recognition. I I don't know, because he was a fifth round pick to begin with. It's a lot harder for players like that to reach that kind of tier. Not saying that it hasn't ever been done, but it's the chances of it happening are minimal. But what do you guys think? Who would you like to see on the left side? You could even just say somebody who's going to actually do the damn job, whoever that is. We trust in Ben. We trust in Dan Roshar and company. But I think it's going to be one of those scenarios. Either Ozzy's going to start, or you're going to give the position to Braxton because he earned it back. So leave a comment below, guys. I know this is a rumor less weekend, so to speak, with other players around the NFL. But I totally think that this week you're going to see some of those free agents that have been lingering out there. I think you're going to start seeing some movement because teams have had the opportunity, now that they've had their OTAs, they've been able to evaluate who and what they have. You could start seeing some decent movement. And I would not be surprised if Nick Chubb is the first one to fall off the board there. I think somebody's going to get him this week. They're going to give him that time to come in and train and learn. And I think once you see that domino fall, I think you're going to see guys like J.K. Dobbins find a home, whether it's staying in L.A. or going elsewhere. But I think you're going to start seeing more and more now what players are still looking at, what they need, who they need. So stay tuned on that. You just know darn well that as soon as we find something out, we're going to get it up and we're going to get it out there to you. So, guys, it's been great. Have a great weekend. Thank you as always for tuning in. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, comment below. And I'm getting pretty good at responding back to those. It might take a day or two. But if you see a guy down there that's standing right next to his wife as the avatar picture, just know that that's me. And I will respond and would love to keep conversation going. So it's been great, guys. Have a great Sunday/Monday, and we'll do this again. And as always, bear down.